into semi-in-person. All right, so just a reminder, and yes, I know you're standing. Deal with it. Just a reminder, we do have health protocol. We have the use of this amazing facility. The Marriott Spring Hill Suites has been very kind and generous in allowing us to use this space, but we need to make sure we adhere to their protocol, and they are asking everyone be masked at times that they are not actively eating or drinking, regardless of whether you've had the virus before or been vaccinated yet. Still want everybody to be masked if you are not actively eating or drinking. I know, it's silly, isn't it? Oh, you said Sybil. Either one. All right. We are back to our first meeting in hybrid, and therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we may have some hiccups. Also, I'm your meeting host. Therefore, we will have some hiccups. But we're gonna go with the flow. All right. Devin McClendon and Alan Treadway. Devin has our invocation, and then Alan is going to. Do you think you can manage the pledge and four-way test, Alan? Okay.
Yes.
He's well practiced at that. So, Devin, you start us off with the invocation.
If you would please bow your heads with me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we pray for your blessings over this club, each of its members today, as we celebrate the progress in the fight against the pandemic. By coming together, both online and in person, to be in fellowship, in service to others before ourselves. Father, we are humbled by those who lead this club in so many ways, both actively and behind the scenes, and we ask that you continue to guide them in helping each of us serve our community and our world through Rotary. Father, we also pray for the members of this club who suffer or are in pain. Lord, we understand that there are those that battle physical health issues, sadness, doubt, and we lift them up in prayer, asking for healing, for guidance, and for our own awareness to get beyond our comfort zone and help when we see those in need. God, we thank you for the life and service of our member who is now in your care, Roger Wheelwright, whose life of service serves as yet another example to each of us. Finally, God, our Father, we ask for your blessing on this gathering, both here in person and in online, and we ask that you use our time together to further your word and the principles of Rotary. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Now, if you join me in the four-way test. First, second, third, and fourth.
All right. You may be seated, and as you are being seated, a show of hands. How many of you noticed how many wings our eagle has this morning? Yeah. I don't know how many years that wing's been broken, but thank you to Devin for getting us all fixed up with two wings. Also, we have a fancy schmancy new computer system that Linus is working off of. So hopefully that will help us with our presentation today, and all of our Zoomers. Welcome, Zoomers. We're very glad that you're here. Everybody say hi. And now, Betsy Crossley is going to sit in for Jane and introduce our guests and visiting Rotarians. Betsy.
That's right, masquerading as Jane Covington. We are here today. We have a visiting Rotarian that's very, very special. We have our Assistant District Governor, Jeff Brasher. Can you stand up, Jeff? Or are you back in the back? Do you have any words of wonderful wisdom for the club at this point?
Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Brasher. I'm the Assistant District Governor from, I'm a member of the Franklin Morning Club. We meet on Wednesdays at Legends. I just can't tell you all, I don't know how long it's been since I've been to a club. It's been that long. And to hear with Keely that you guys were getting back together today, I wanted to foremost be able to be around fellow Rotarians and just to be here. Our morning club has not gotten back together yet. It is a discussion point. Hopefully that'll happen in the near future. I've been on a couple different Zoom calls, and I think you all would agree they're just a little bit different than meeting in face to face. And I know it makes such a difference. Again, there's really nothing from the district or anything, as so many clubs are struggling at this time to get back together, et cetera, et cetera. I bet many of you know Dr. Michael Babb. Does anybody know Michael or met with Michael? You know, he will be our upcoming district president. And a lot of that stuff is getting ready to kick off for the new Rotary year starting July 1st. And there'll be a lot of communication that we can do. First and foremost, I'm just so excited and privileged to be here with y'all. Look forward to today. Thank you again.
Jeff, it might have been the last time that you were at a club meeting was probably with us underneath the pavilion over at Granny White. Yeah, maybe so. Yes. Let's see. Jordan, where did you end up being? Right behind me, of course. Jordan is coming back to visit us again. She was per Zoom, I think, last week. And then now Jordan Nielsen is here in person. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Hi, as she said, my name is Jordan. I am or have been in the Brentwood area for about 2 years now, working for Morning Point of Brentwood. So getting myself into the community has been a really big part for me personally, as well as part of just what I believe is best for our community and kind of serving and making sure they're well taken care of. So very happy to be here. And thank you so much for allowing me to pop in.
And see, John is getting ready to officially join the club, and he has a guest that he's brought today as well. You want to introduce Jody?
My guest I brought with today is my wife, Jody Kraft, and we've all just moved down here, and thank you for having us.
And Jason Cook, we welcome you back as well, Rotarian and former member of our club.
Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure, as always, to be amongst you once again. And if I forget to say hi to you, just know I'm thinking it in my heart. But on a serious note, there is something else I want to also say to you guys briefly, is share something else that's very dear to my heart, just like Rotary, and that's something called Toastmasters. There's actually an initiative in our district, with the blessing of our district governor, April Lieberman. I'm going to be sharing this with clubs. We have a joint agreement, I guess you could say, of what they call a Rotary Toastmasters Alliance that was formed a couple of years ago, so we can promote both organizations. And if you need to learn public speaking, now, it isn't like public speaking is going to be a hard thing for most of you in this room, but if you need the help or want to work on your professional development, Toastmasters is a great place to start. There's a hybrid club that's been formed in partnership with the Rotary Club of Cookville. They have a hybrid meeting. So actually it attracts Rotarians from around the state, and they are meeting every other Monday night. So anyway, if you want to learn more about public speaking, Toastmasters is a wonderful alliance. Please reach out to me or anyone that can help you with Toastmasters, but I'd love to share more with you if you're interested. Other than that, it's great to be here. It almost feels like I'm on another planet, being in a real live in-person meeting, but it's great to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. Anybody else that I missed?
Anybody on Zoom? Jason, I always feel like I'm on another planet when I join this crew, so you're in good company. All right, so we're going to do Happy Bucks today, and I did email you out a special Happy Bucks email today. I know you all read your emails. You just sit at your computers waiting for Keely to send you an email. But just in case you've forgotten since yesterday, today we're doing Happy Bucks in honor of Roger Wheelwright. Roger died after a long battle with cancer on January the 1st of this year. A dear, dear human being, lived a life of service. Not only years of service, but days of service. When you talk with him, you were important. What you needed, what you felt, what you believed was important. And he just epitomized Rotary. We miss him. We miss him dearly. Another group misses him. He used to play golf on a weekly basis with a group at the Governor's Club. And that group has decided to get together and found a memorial, establish a memorial for him. They're going to erect a flagpole at the club there with some paver bricks dedicated to him, and as well as one other member of their club that also died 10 days after Roger. So we, as a Rotary Club, decided it would also be appropriate for us, if you so desired on a personal level, to donate to that same memorial fund. There will be a dedication time specific. And another one for the other gentleman as well. So if you would like to do that, I'm going to pass the basket. If you have cash, you can obviously put that in here. If you have a check and you do not yet know how to make it payable, make it out to the Governor's Club with a note on the memo line regarding memorial flagpole. Governor's Club with a memo line, memorial flagpole. And if you do desire to pay with a credit card, we can accommodate that as well. Yes, George. I'm gonna bring the mic to you so the folks on Zoom can hear your question as well.
Since you just told me how to make out the check, is BRCCF okay?
Judges, Patrick, I think the desire is to make it payable to Governor's Club, because if we route it through the BRCCF, then BRCCF would have to cut a check to the Governor's Club. So I don't think that we're supposed to do that out of BRCCF. But you're an attorney, so I am not about to argue with you. You're a trial.
No.
All right. We'll take
Passon,
whatever
no.
George says we'll take. How about that?
Steve Passon votes the other way.
All right. So who is happy today?
For Bill McCarthy, who brought Roger into the club. And I want to welcome my old college roommate, Steve Huff. This is his first meeting here today, and I'm going to put 50 cents in for him.
You got to earn your way up to the $5.
I got to do better than that, Bart. I'd like to put in $20. So maybe I'm worth that. I'm not sure, but in honor of your former member.
Mr. Kaplan.
Put something in for Roger. I actually met him at Governor's Club there 8-9 years ago. He was my neighbor. And so I've known him longer than I've known anybody here. And so it was really neat when I got to meet him here at Rotary. And I was like, why don't I know your name? And it was through an act of service, because he served on a homeowners board at Governor's Club. And for those that have served on homeowners boards, you know that is as thankless as you get. And so, yes, it's kind of full circle for me to be able to donate for something at Governor's Club.
Who else is happy? And you don't have to talk, but you're welcome to talk.
No, I'm glad to see Steve here. I worked with Steve for 38 years, and I'm going to take the 50 cents back out. Is that a...
We were in Denver last weekend visiting Melissa, our daughter, who has made the move from New York City. She starts her job on Monday with the U.S. Attorney's Office. So she's excited about that. But I also wanted to brag on my other daughter. Yes, I do have two daughters. Michelle is in North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, has just become executive producer of a news station there. So after a few years taking care of kids, she's gone back to work. So.
Seriously, Jonathan doesn't want to say anything? That's crazy.
There's $5 for Roger. What'd you want to say? Yes. Okay, I did want to give $5 for Roger, and also a big shout out to the Kentucky Wildcats. They truly are one and done.
I want to put $100 in, happy bucks for Roger.
Okay, I'm putting pen in for my daughter, my youngest Piper. She's engaged. And she'll be 26 when she gets married, so that's a good age. And then in 10 for Roger.
Anybody else on Zoom want to take a turn?
Bernie, thank you we did hear you and thank you very much.
Bernie also, I believe, was part of that club, the golf group. Anybody else before we move on from Happy Bucks? All right, awesome. We are a very happy crew. Oh, my goodness, very happy crew today. Thank you.
Brag on my oldest a little bit. We're still in flux with college, but we were at the Citadel last week. He's got an ROTC scholarship to go there. Thank Jesus for that, and pray for more help to bridge that gap for Dad and Mom and family. He also has an appointment to the Merchant Marine Academy. Got a ride there, and we're waiting to hear from the Naval Academy. So he got a nomination. So whoever you pray to, we're hoping for that third one to come through. If not, we've got some good options. So.
All right, thank you. That don't have an official count there, but that was a very generous Happy Bucks today. Okay, announcements. So we are here, Spring Hill Suites in Brentwood, from today through the end of April. They have blocked it off for us, so they're not hosting anything in this room that's actually going to pay them decent money, so that we can meet here for the next several weeks until the end of April. At that time, we don't know, man. We hope that maybe the Martin Center might be a better possibility at that time. They're meeting, I think, on this next week to determine what their timeline looks like. If not, we may be at the Rotary Pavilion. It'll be a nice month to do that in May, relatively decent weather. But we'll see. Stay tuned. We know we're here through the end of April, and that's better than what we've had up to now. So I will not be here next week, but you are in for it. Yes, let's hear it for that. But you are in for a treat because Michael Heineman and Jonathan Merck are going to, which one is the magician and which one is the lovely assistant? They are going to host the meeting next week. It's going to be table talks and it's going to be way too much fun. Don't miss out. Let's see. Larry Kane would like to take a moment.
First of all, I'm humbled to be up here to say something about the golf tournament with Jeff Brasher in the house. His club has the absolute best golf tournament. I mean, I don't mean from golf standpoint, from a fundraising standpoint that I can even imagine. And I've talked to those guys many times, Jeff, at your club, and learned a lot from them. You guys rock. I mean, there's just unbelievable. So anyway, real quick, everybody should have gotten an email this week with some attachments to it. It's the same attachments that I normally hand out every year to everybody, but since we weren't meeting, we couldn't do that. If you did not get that for some reason, let me know. That should be everything that you need to know about the golf tournament. In there is also your teams. So look on there and make sure you know whose team you're on. Hopefully your captain has contacted you by now or will be pretty soon to let you know what our plan is for selling those sponsorships. Number two, we have a new website. You should have that in your package too. If you haven't looked at it, go on there and look at it. www.brentwoodrotarygolf.com. It's awesome. You can do anything on that website you need to do. You can sign up to play. You can sign up for a sponsorship. You can look at Curry Andrews' picture. You can do all kind of stuff on there that's really neat. So go on there and check that out. And lastly, as I said in the meeting last week, a lot of golf tournaments got canceled last year. And what I'm hearing from the clubs and the courses where I go, a lot of those tournaments are coming back on this year, probably all of them. And they're all wanting to play in the late summer and fall, same time we're playing. What does that mean? That means you're going to have a lot of people out there looking for sponsorships. And it's going to start pretty soon. Hopefully not as soon as we are, but sometime in the spring, you're going to hear a lot of people out there trying to sell sponsorships for golf tournaments. Let's get on this early, guys. You've got everything you need to sell now. It's March. If we could get a big part of our sponsorship sold in the next 30 to 60 days, that'd be fabulous. We'd be ahead of the game, and you won't have you competition when you're out there selling. So if you need anything, contact me or anybody else on the golf committee. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry. And now Roger Greenup has a very special introduction to make. Roger.
Thanks, Keely. It's my pleasure to introduce our newest member, John Kraft. That's Kreft. John is a native of the Chicago area, which happens to be the home of our founder, Rotary founder, Paul Harris. John worked in the funeral service business for 25 plus years. In December of 2019, he purchased the Austin Funeral Services business here in Brentwood. And he and his wife, Jody, who was introduced earlier, moved here last year. So John will be the owner and operator of that business. Offices in Maryland Farm. Jody and John have 3 children, Jordan, Jenna, and Jamie, 3 J's. And John he loves golf, hockey, doesn't participate in hockey, but he loves hockey and most sports. He's a huge Chicago Cubs fan. Join me, please, in welcoming John Kraft, the Rotary, and I have a membership packet. Keely, our president, will pin his Rotary pin on. I feel like I'm going to prom.
Yeah, there's several differences. There we go. Okay. All right. We will move right along. I have a couple of other announcements, but we'll skip them because they aren't nearly as important as what's about to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, Sheila Cleveland is about to get up. Sheila, come on and introduce our speaker.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I'll give you the professional bio, and then I'll go and say a few of my own words. Jason Golden, Superintendent, Williamson County Schools, is completing his 2nd year as Director of Schools, Williamson County. He has been with the district since 2006, and most recently serving as Deputy Superintendent from 2012 to 2019. After growing up in the family of educators, Mr. Golden obtained a BA from Vanderbilt University and his JD from the University of Georgia. He and his wife, Shelley, have 3 children. That's the profession. Now for what I'm going to say. Jason is an incredible superintendent. He probably didn't realize what he was getting into when he was asked to do the job. Williamson County has a phenomenal toolbox for superintendents, through the vast experiences of years we've had, all the bells and whistles. But what he didn't expect was to get that toolbox and then have a blank slate and say, build it. And that's with COVID, diversity issues, everything coming up in Williamson County. It's like uncharted waters. And so every time he went into that toolbox, it's like, we don't have it. And they have to go out and find it. Well, that's how it's been for the last year. And for our administration and our teachers, every day's learning experience, every day is a growing experience. We learn from our mistakes and we grow from it. But it has been an incredible year. And I don't think our school system could have done it without Jason or our teachers or his administration. And if anybody, has an inkling to go back and watch our school board meetings, you get the detail of everything that we're talking about and trying to work it out. And we've got a phenomenal school board. And so, again, the only thing I can get on my soapbox about, don't listen to social media. If you have anything, any questions, call your school board rep or call Mr. Golden, because we can give you the answers. And I'm just very proud of our system and how well our schools are doing. Mr. Golden?
Thank you so much, Sheila. So Keely actually told me that because I am socially distanced, I can speak without my mask. I will tell you, I am very much aware of all those rules. I have read and studied the CDC and state health department guidelines uh, just over and over again. So with that, I am going to do that to make sure that those, especially remotely, can hear me. So I am going to do that. First of all, I want to thank you guys for having me. I spoke to you about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, and it was right about when that first positive case turned up in Tennessee. And where was it? It was in Brentwood, right? It was in Williamson County. You know, we hit that point at that very point of, well, what are we going to do? And within just a few days of that, the governor basically shut down schools for a full quarter. Today is the completion date for our third quarter of this school year, and we're hitting spring break, and we're going to be starting the fourth quarter next Monday, not this coming, but the next through spring break. It's a huge change for us. Just this year is going to be really tough to reflect on over time, and I could spend a half hour talking about that. But this is my first meeting where I've been able to speak publicly outside of a Zoom since then. And it was just great to be able to sit next to Sheila Cleveland and have lunch, and next to Sid Smith and have lunch. I've known Sid I'm ballparking about 30 years. Sid's daughter and my wife were actually college roommates, at least 1 year. And so our families have been friends for a long time, and it's really very encouraging to see that. So I've spoken to you before, and I have a PowerPoint, and the last slide on my PowerPoint says questions. And so I really want you all to toss out questions as we go, because we are a little more familiar with each other. I want to do what I can to respond to those issues and those questions that have come up for you, more so than just running through a presentation and then answering questions at the end. So if you would, feel free to raise your hand, or if there's any other ways for the questions to be asked. I am very open to just going off on rabbit trails. In part because I haven't presented for a year, and I'm more related, more akin to rabbit trails now than ever before. But with that, I do want to go ahead and walk through this. I'm going to hit my button, and you said that the off button will then hit this. There we go. We got the on button. All right. So we have 3 focus points that I developed going through the process of speaking with our stakeholders when I was going through the interview process for superintendent, and then those first few months of being superintendent. And I landed on 3 focus points for our staff. Think in terms of students first. We're a public institution, and we are so regulated that I found that over time it was easy to just say no, because there was an application of some rule in the past that's now being applied to the current situation, but it didn't quite apply, but we've gotten into the habit of saying no. So I focused our faculty and our staff on, every time there's an issue that comes up, think in terms of students first. Is this best for students? And I tell you, that has helped us in the last year in the context of COVID. Every time we've been thinking students first. What's the best for students? Second focus point I had for our faculty and staff was, we need to grow in empathy. Look at it from the lens of the student. Look at it from their perspective. Sometimes we'll share things that make sense to us, but might not make sense to our students based on their life experience, and look at it from their perspective. It's something as simple as a discipline issue that you might understand what you're saying, but the student might not have a full grasp of what they did or how they can grow from it. Look at it from the student's perspective. And the final focus point I've given our faculty and staff is, don't go it alone. We have an incredible team. Sheila addressed that when she introduced me. We have an incredible team. Some of the best people in the country are here in Williamson County, because we attract some of the best people in the country. And you know that too, don't you? Through many of your businesses and through your work, you're doing the same thing, attracting some of the best people. So we focus for our faculty and our staff, don't make decisions in isolation. We've got a great team. Let's work together, and let's make the best decisions we can with that student first focus. So those have been themes that we've had, and we've applied those themes in COVID. And I think it's helped us grow. I'm going to give one quick example. The CDC came out with school reopening guidelines on February 18th of this year. We put our guidelines together last summer, And it's amazing how much of that just almost exactly parallels what we worked through in the summer. We agonized over that. We dug, we researched, and we came up with our best plan for our students. And then months later, the CDC comes out with these guidelines. One big result of that was we've been on campus. And I'm just going to skip this slide on strategic planning. We've been on campus because of that. And I'm actually going to jump to this. Perhaps our biggest celebration is that we actually had school this year. We actually had students on campus. And you know that many of our neighbors struggle with that. And the truth is we struggle too. We opened up school with our goal to be on campus if we could safely do it. And within 2 weeks, we started out small. We started out with elementary students and we got everybody back on campus, and we've had our ups and downs. Quarantine had a significant impact on us. If you chart this out, our quarantine numbers have gone like this and back like this, and then flattened back out. We are currently at a quarantine number that's very close to the quarantine numbers we had in late September, early October. We're not out of the woods, but we're hoping and we believe that the peaks that we had back in around Thanksgiving time and Christmas time, where we had sometimes as many as 4,000 faculty and students in quarantine, are hopefully a thing of the past. We're at about 10% of that right now. It's still real, it's still happening, but we've learned how to manage it over the course of time. So we're at about this past Monday, we report this to the state weekly. We had 444 students in quarantine with 41 positive student cases among our 40,000 or so students, just to give you guys some number perspective on that. And you see this reference here. It may have looked a little different, but we still had a lot of those things that you think of as those fun school items. The butterfly releases, football games, etc. Y'all, that took a lot of work to put that together. And Sheila mentioned that. We've been able to do those things. They look different. They look different. And that middle point I have there, we still have proms. I actually had a discussion with one of your members. We've had to create some safety plans for prom. And we have limited numbers, and there's a junior who might not get there because we're putting seniors as a priority for that senior prom. But we're finding ways to get these things done, even in the parameters that we have from the state health department. So we put our plan together back last summer, just a few weeks after I last spoke with you. And we've had our students on campus, especially this semester, a little over 90% of the time, even with those quarantines. It's been an effort. So I want to step back a little bit on my slide. So the health department did something pretty amazing for us. They got us, through the governor's work, got us into the 1B category. And I know some of you have had your shots. I've gotten my first. But we were able to get over 2,500 first doses to our teachers in the past 2 weeks. That pretty much covers the teachers who haven't gotten it elsewhere and wanted it. So from a health perspective, we feel like we've really turned a corner with our faculty. We know that students below the age of 16 can't get the vaccine yet. So we know that we're still facing some tough times ahead on the COVID front. But we know that we've turned a corner because our faculty now is on that road. We still apply our safety protocols. I'll tell you the truth, we don't know when they're going to end. You're sitting here for the first time in a year. You're wearing your mask when you're not eating. We're trying to make sure that we maintain that social distancing. We're still there too. Our students are on, in individual classrooms, and that's close. And so every time we get an opportunity to adjust based on the medical professionals, we take that opportunity. And y'all, that's the elephant in the room, so I figured we'd talk about it. And it's funny, that old saw about when somebody has a mask on and they over their eyes and they touch an elephant. Everybody's touching an elephant in different spots. Oh my, it's an elephant. It is so many different things depending on where you touch with this. But we're excited that the health department got that for us. But let's talk about what we're really about, what our real mission is. In Williamson County Schools are that same excellence. We're that same excellent system that many of your children went to, that some of you went to, and that some of your children are now getting an education from. And so we celebrate those wonderful things that we're doing. And I tell you, we're going to be better for this. And I've actually got a couple of examples of that later on in my slide. 51 national merit finalists this year. Third year in a row that we had 50 or more national merit finalists. Finalists, you all, not semifinalists, finalists. That means huge scholarship numbers at most any school for those national merit finalists. And I'm speaking to the Brentwood Rotary, so I'm going to brag on y'all. 29 of those 51 were at Brentwood and Ravenwood High School. You all know the programs there are tremendous. And a lot of that is because of the parents, because of the support you give us and the expectations you have for your children. And you make that work that much easier for us, and you give us that ability to push over and above the basics that the Tennessee sets for standards. Lipscomb Elementary named a National Blue Ribbon School. That's not our first Brentwood area school. That's a National Blue Ribbon School. I actually celebrated over at Crockett the year before the National Blue Ribbon School status. And I got to tell a story about National Blue Ribbon School. I grew up in Metro Atlanta, graduated high school in 1985. And my high school was named a 1985 National Blue Ribbon School. And I drove by my old building a couple of years ago, and they still had that out on their marquee. It's a big deal, big deal to educators, that National Blue Ribbon status. And so it's something that really is significant for us. And I also mentioned here, Brentwood High's TV media program has won 5 state awards from the Tennessee High School Critics Association. They actually have their own TV station. Question. Oh, what the Blue Ribbon School means? Oh, thank you. So the National Blue Ribbon School is an award that the federal government gives out, started in maybe around 1980 to celebrate the top 0.5% and less of the best schools in the country. They do an analysis. You actually have to apply, and it's related to student growth. It's related to student performance. It's related to programming. Those are the basics of it. And they do a national evaluation, compare us to the schools across the country. And then from a celebration standpoint, typically they invite them in to Washington, D.C., do a seminar, do a celebration. All that, of course, was virtual this year. But it's really about performance and growth for students. Yes, ma'am? Scales has won that award. Just Brentwood Middle has won that award. We're really shooting the moon when it comes to Tennessee schools winning that National Blue Ribbon Award. I'm trying to remember, one of our schools has actually won it twice. And I mentioned my old high school. I would encourage them to try to win it twice if it's dating back to 1985. But we do have one of our elementary schools, and for the life of me, I can't remember which one has won it twice. But that's the basics of it. And it is an annual process that we go through and evaluate the schools. Great question. We also, because we're speaking to Brentwood, I want to point out some of the Brentwood successes this year, even in this COVID environment. Brentwood High won the TSSAA Volleyball State Championship, and y'all, that's not the first time. Anyone know Brentwood volleyball? I mean, yeah, there you go. It's an incredible program. And Barbara Campbell led that program for a lot of years, and we transitioned coaches, and we're maintaining that excellence. And of course, girls cross country champions. And I tell you, Title IX was passed. I know we have multiple lawyers probably in the room. Title IX was passed back in the 70s, and we are living the value of that with the programs that we offer our students. And I will tell you, for me, and I mentioned this at the board work session last night, one of my most enjoyable experiences is watching women's basketball. Girls basketball at the high school level. Part of that is because my daughter played. But it's just the success that we experience is just so fun. And you guys know the value sports give our students. Ravenwood won the Stalker championship as well. So our girls sports, especially in the Brentwood area, are thriving, and we are very proud of that. In the arts, Brentwood and Ravenwood high schools combined to have 35 students named All-State Choir, Band, and Orchestra. We talk about being focused on academics, athletics, and the arts, and you're seeing all of that at all our high schools, including, of course, the specifics of the Brentwood area. So we are very proud of that. And we've had one question, and I just again want to encourage you guys, toss out some questions as we go through this. I spoke to COVID earlier, and if you feel like you need to ask that, I'll certainly respond to that. But here's some Brentwood work that really is hot off the presses. You see, this is actually a photo of the construction right there at the front of Brentwood High School's building. So how many of you all have dealt with construction traffic in the last few months? Not a lot of traffic because of people moving around from job to job, although that's growing. But Brentwood High, we're putting a new face on the building that actually expands the capacity of the front part of the campus. The designs back in the in the early '80s had narrower halls than what we really feel like we need now. But we've created some more space at the front. And so that photo is not even on my bullet point. The county commission approved just this week funding for 3 significant Brentwood projects. Number one, Brentwood Middle School. We've been talking about this for a while, about the need to replace that building. That building actually officially opened in 1970. It was built basically in 1968, 1969, and it's well past its life. I got to share, we have an elementary school building in Fairview that was built in the 50s and is in much better shape than that building built in the 60s. There's something about late 60s, early 70s construction. I don't know about it. But the county commission approved the first $2 million for us to do the planning for the Brentwood Middle replacement. We're going to rebuild that building. It's a phased approach. We actually have 3 phases that we're projecting. The completion date is scheduled in 2025. We got funding from the county commission this week for the planning, but we have an architect who's done a lot of work with us over the course of years that has actually already been working on that for about a year. It was just time to honor the work that they've done and get that project started. Yes, sir. Mr. Andrews. Great question. So for those of you on Zoom, the question was, is this going to be multi-story? We project it's probably going to be a 3-story building. So what our plan is to shrink the footprint, go up, and have a little bit more green space. So that's our plan. The first visual we have is the building's probably going to be basically an L. It goes from the north side of the Brentwood Middle campus where the field is now down, and then open up some space where the building currently sits. Yes, ma'am. There's another question. Yes, sir.
Is the building going to be completely level?
Is the building going to be completely
Level? Torn down?
Our plan at this point is to phase the building, and the question was, is the building going to be completely torn down? Short answer is probably yes, but we're working through that. I will tell you, the cafeteria gym, we have roofing issues that we've been working on for years. And so we're doing an analysis right there about whether there's value for that. The cafeteria for sure we know has to go. The gym is something that we're still going to explore. Those of you who are very familiar with the building, you know there's a wing on the north side that's about 20 years younger than the older part of the building. The initial look that we're talking about actually places the new building right where that is and starts there. So the chances are the entire building is going to be replaced. Yes, sir. And I will tell you, one of the reasons for that is long-term viability. To make sure that we have something that can last for another 50 years. You know, that building opened in 1970, 50 years, right? I mean, it's really been that long. It's really been that long, which is hard to believe. So again, it's the phased approach. We have to make sure that our students have a place to go to school while this is going on. And hey, and somebody's got to help me with time because I don't have my phone. If I need to quit, because I used to be in the Kiwanis Club. We got 10 minutes, okay, and I know how important that time is. So two other issues. Ravenwood synthetic turf field was just approved for funding. Who has had children at Ravenwood? We've got some of that represented, and I know as an example, Nelson Andrews is a wonderful Ravenwood booster for with his family. We have gone through a phased approach in getting synthetic turf fields across the district. We know that the demands on these are a whole lot more than how they were, 20, 30, 40 years ago. TSSAA is introducing lacrosse in just another year. They've actually kicked that can another year because of COVID. I don't know how many of you have watched lacrosse, but the use of a field with lacrosse really churns up around the goals because the players circle it, and synthetic turf can handle that a whole lot better. Also, with all our multiple sports, having a multi-use field is going to be very valuable. Brentwood High School has that field. The city of Brentwood, as we did some of that work, actually gave us a strip of land from Granny White Park so that we could get an extra exit out so that we could have better traffic flow. The city of Brentwood has been a great partner to us on that campus. We phased this. Brentwood was earlier on. Nolensville, Brentwood, Franklin, and Page already have those fields. We asked a couple of years ago for funding. We weren't able to get it. We got the funding this week. Our plan is for that field to be open this coming football season. We're going to work on that over the summer. Pretty aggressive schedule for that. Ravenwood has had massive drainage problems on that field. The commission also approved our board's request for funding to expand Ravenwood's campus. Those of you who know Brentwood know that we put the STEM building up, and that expanded our campus capacity. Brentwood High, Brentwood Middle, our goal when this is completed is to have a 2,000, 1,500 student campus. 2,000 at the high school, 1,500 at the middle school, to deal with some growth and try to keep that Brentwood zone a contained zone from Brentwood Middle to Brentwood High. Likewise, Ravenwood, our plan is to expand that. One of the big reasons from a county perspective is it's a whole lot cheaper to build a wing on if you can handle the capacity than it is to build brand new schools. And so we've been phasing that throughout our time with the building construction. So those are some significant items that we've seen in the Brentwood area just for the next couple of years. What's ahead for WCS? WCS Online is going to continue as a choice. We have a strategic plan that called for long-term thoughts about online programs. One of the reasons we did that is because we want to maintain the WCS quality in instruction, and we were taking a slow approach. COVID made it instant. We created an online program overnight last summer. We know that it needs to continue, and so our board's made a commitment and will be making a commitment with their budget to make sure that the online program continues as a choice with a quality of instruction that we expect at Williamson County Schools. That's something that COVID's created for us that we think is going to be permanent. I heard a question from Zoom. Yes, sir. Great question. So the question Mr. Andrews asked, is there going to be an emphasis on trade schools as opposed to college? So we have a robust college and career technical education program. The terminology for this has changed over the last few generations. Those of you who were in school in the 60s, that's VOTEC, but it's become much more advanced. So we have a lot of engineering programs, and they are largely driven by student choice and student selection of those programs. Our board actually is going to vote to approve 2 new engineering programs that are STEM related for next year's high schools at their coming board meeting next Monday night. So the short answer to your question is yes, we are continuing to focus on those. And I tell you, we have a lot of students who take those college and career technical education programs who either go straight into the workforce or go to college. The state added that extra C, college and career, because they know a lot of students are taking those practical courses and still choosing to go to college. So we're producing engineers through our programs, and also those who want to go straight into the workforce can. I'll give you one example that happens to be at Franklin High School. We have an auto body program that is actually sponsored by Service King Collision Repair. And they get certifications, and Service King actually hires those students straight out of that program because they have had a hard time recruiting that work. And so they've got a pool from us, and they're supporting the program. Those programs are student choice driven, and we have those programs, scattered programs around all over our county. So if someone wants to take that course, the collision repair focus, they can go out of zone to Franklin High School. And so every one of our high schools has programs like that attract students from across the county to make sure they're viable with student enrollment. So online is going to continue. And I put this bullet, next generation PTO support for technology. COVID also led us to jump on our strategic plan to get devices in the hands of every student. We had a long-term plan for that, but we jumped and every student now has a Chromebook. For years, our PTOs have been doing fundraisers to get us Chromebooks and get devices for students. Our board stepped up and our county commission stepped up to get that for us. So now our PTOs are thinking about what's the next step? What's the next thing we can help with? And I'm very excited to see where we're headed with that. And it's going to be interactive tools, those kinds of things to help enhance our instruction even more. I put in here instructional focus on common assessments and teacher team planning. What I mean by that is our teachers at grade levels within schools are spending more time working together to bounce ideas off each other and test the same so that they're making sure their students who are across the hall are getting the same quality education as their neighbors just across the hall. We're so excited about that. In education circles for the last 20 years, they've been talking about PLCs, professional learning communities, and our teachers are living that right now with the rubber meeting the road. And I know I've got about 3 minutes or less. What's ahead for WCS? Tennessee has a teacher shortage. We have to import teachers into Tennessee to meet the growth needs here in Tennessee. So we're recruiting in Ohio. We're recruiting in Atlanta. We are having to recruit broader. What's working for us is we've got such a vibrant community that we can do that. I worry about some of my peers in some rural areas, but for us, it takes real effort to bring teachers in from out of state. So I will tell you, if you hear somebody in your professional work or in your family and all your connections who's looking to teach, send them to us. We're recruiting. Just last Saturday, we did a recruiting fair on Brentwood's football field. I don't know if anyone saw that. It was artificial turf, so it worked. If it was grass, I don't know that we could have done it because we had every school represented out there on the field. We continue to have a need for folks, for people, just like probably your businesses. It's hard to staff. We've got that too. So we continue to look. Substitute teachers, teachers assistants, bus drivers. If you know of anybody, send them to us. If you're retired and you can't help but get up in the morning at about 5:30, we'd love to have you as a bus driver. You'll be done by about 8:50, 9 o'clock. Play golf in the midday and come back and drive for us in the afternoon. Full benefits. We offer bus drivers full benefits. Yes, sir. Yeah. The question is how many total faculty and staff? We have about 3,200 teachers. And then you add on faculty and staff, we have around 4,000 full-time equivalents, right in that range, including support staff. Special education is a big issue for us. We have a lot of special education supports. There have been times in Tennessee where our special education students have outperformed the state average on the state testing. So I know we got, real quick, our locals support us financially more than just about any other county in Tennessee. And I felt like it's very important for you to have that basic grasp. It's about local funding. The majority of our funding comes locally from our county. So we get support from the cities too. And I'm going to skip through that because I run out of time and we've hit the question time. Yes, sir. Oh, neat. All right. So the two questions, comments. One, don't go it alone. This gentleman's business actually uses that slogan. Second, the question is, in Davidson County, you said that a lot of those STEM programs are offered to charter schools. Yeah. So we don't have any charter schools in Williamson County. There's a structure for applications to come. We actually have one charter school application pending related to special education services that we're going through the evaluation process. 4 STEM programs, or those what we call elective focused programs. They are driven by our leaders finding a need and finding an opportunity and creating them in individual schools. We know that for student numbers, we have to attract students from across the county for many of those programs to be viable. So as an example, Centennial has a CAD program, and the force of personality and the quality of that teacher who teaches CAD attracts students to Centennial. We Project Lead the Way. If you guys are familiar with that, that's an engineering program. That is something that we're starting up. That's one of the ones I mentioned. So every high school has their own programs that attract each other, and it's driven by student choice and student need. Yes, sir. That's a great question. So the question is, I have children at Jordan Elementary School. Is the Jordan Middle School still supposed to be built? Short answer is yes. It's on our 5-year capital plan. When we bought the Jordan property, it is the easternmost tract of land inside the Brentwood city limits. And Brentwood helped us get that plan. We bought a tract large enough for a middle school to be built behind Jordan Elementary. That is going to be driven by student numbers and student need. Mill Creek Middle School is already over capacity. And it was what, 3 years old? 3 years old. That area is booming, y'all. Sunset Middle School, which serves, based on its zone, Nolensville and Brentwood. The middle school itself, I'm ballparking about 2/3. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's 60 to 70%, 65 to 70% capacity. And so we expect within the next 5 years, we will have that middle school, but it's going to be driven by growth. Another variable on that is the county just went through the process of modifying their land use plan. And so it's going to be interesting to see. They've actually changed their requirements for subdivisions in the county. They have also started the process with cities of reevaluating their urban growth boundaries, for those of you who do that work, which are extensions of city limits where cities can actually expand some of their infrastructure. And so that's going to have an impact on where schools are too over the next few years. Yes, sir. Yeah. So thank you for that. Well, it's interesting that you say that. For those on Zoom, there's a reference to Curry's company, Curry Andrews' company, helping with Brentwood soccer field and football field back then. Back then, when those schools opened, the funding for athletics and music and art was very low. It took parent work. Our culture and our expectations in our county has definitely grown, and the county commission is stepping up and making sure we fund those. I see people are putting their jackets on. I think I've worn out my welcome. Right? So thank you so much.
We thank you very much. Thank you so very much for coming. You have come at two of the busiest times for you in the last 12 months, and we appreciate your presence here and your leadership for our schools. All right, Board of Directors, remember that we are meeting on Tuesday. That will be a via Zoom meeting, 4:30 on Tuesday afternoon. Please be mindful of our prayer concern list, our Family of Rotary list. Man, that's it for today. It was a great meeting. It is great to be back. We will see you here, same bat time, same bat channel next week. You are adjourned.